Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 22 of SuperSports, the review series for the vehicles which slot quite nicely between full-on supercars and the more mainstream sports car market. And in this episode we're featuring a Jaguar, fairly obviously as you'll have seen from the title and of course from the thumbnail, and the particular model is the Jaguar XKR-S. Now this car is no longer the most hardcore version of the XKR. There is now also the GT version with the stripes and the enlarged rear wing, etc. But that version currently is not on the game. So this is the most hardcore XKR that we currently have on Gran Turismo. And in effect, this is kind of like Jaguar's equivalent of the more hardcore versions of some of the most popular and most widely loved supersports models. In effect, the XKR-S is like Jaguar's equivalent of Lamborghini's Superleggera, Maserati's MC Stradale, Ferrari's Scuderia, etc. So, that said, Jaguar isn't really known in general as being as hardcore around the track as those vehicles. Jaguars, of course, are known for being fast, but they generally don't even attempt to be hardcore track cars. They attempt more to be more like Astons. They're long-distance GT supersports models with as much of a focus on being comfortable and classy rather than just hardcore and quick around corners. So Jaguar's foray into the more hardcore supersports category, does it really pay off? Is the car convincing as a supersports, especially a hardcore supersports model? Well, happily, I would say yes. This is a very, very convincing supersports car, in fact. And it's one which, from what I've seen at least, and I may be wrong, but from what I've seen on Gran Turismo 6, is one of the more undervalued supersports cars on the game. And surprisingly so, I would say, because if I remember correctly, you can win this car either in career mode or for one of the license tests. I can't remember which, but I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that you do win this car in the game. So, technically speaking, there's probably quite a few people who own this car, possibly even more people who own this than any other supersports model in the game. And yet, how many people do you see using this car? Not that many at all. You see some, generally hardcore fans of Jaguar, but apart from that, it gets nowhere near as much use as the Gallardo or the Scuderia. So why? Is it a bad car, or is it just an underappreciated car? Because there are, of course, plenty of those on Gran Turismo, and being underappreciated, as we've discovered on this channel in a number of different episodes of different series, does not mean that a car is bad. Oftentimes it just means it's a performance gem waiting to be found. So is this car undervalued for good reason, or is it just not that great to drive? Well, it's definitely not a bad car, that's for sure. It's a fantastic car in one way in particular, and a way which actually surprised me. Of all the things I would have expected this car to be outstandingly good at, grip would not have been the one that I would have chosen. But funnily enough, I would say that is this car's best attribute. This car has so much grip, it's almost unbelievable. The way this car drives feels as though it's all-wheel drive. It actually has more grip than most, if not all, of the supersports cars that we have reviewed in this series so far. It's incredible. It handles and grips like a combination of a rally car and a touring car put together. It feels absolutely incredible. Now, I'm not saying that's without fault. Sometimes having too much grip can be as much of a problem as having not enough, because it causes understeer. And to be completely honest, this car does have some understeer. The steering is heavier than some of its rivals, but it's my strong opinion that understeer is much, much easier to work with than oversteer. If you're constantly fishtailing all over the place, that just gets annoying. But if you're in a car that's just a little bit too heavy, that's not difficult to counteract. That's not difficult to work with. In fact, oftentimes that will make you the most stable car in the race. When other people are fishtailing and flapping around all over the place, you can be taking corners consistently, smoothly, and with much less driver fatigue. So that is a fantastic point in this car's favour. But what about sheer spec? Well, it's powered by a supercharged 5-litre engine. It's the most powerful version of the XK, which is on the game at 817 horsepower and a massive 733 pound-feet of torque, which absolutely blows Lamborghini and Ferrari out of the water. It does weigh a bit more than some of those other Supersports models, not surprisingly for a Jag. It does weigh over 1,300 kilos, 1,342 to be exact, but it still puts out over 600 horsepower per tonne and sits at 614 pp. Now the price tag is 175,000 credits, but as I said, as far as I remember, you don't need to buy this car. You can win it at any time just through playing the game. So in terms of value for money, it's one of the best in the series because technically it's free. So even if it wasn't that great, it would still be a good deal. But as it happens, it's very good. Top speed wise, you're looking at around 260, 270, that kind of speed. Acceleration is pretty strong, especially low end, because the torque comes in at only 4,500 revs for peak torque. So it's got that big lazy power which you want from a car like this. And overall, if you haven't dug this car out of your garage in a while, I would urge you to do so, because it's really, really good. So, that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.